It is Friday, July 14th. We're gonna do a little update here. Okay, so what's been going on the past week? Trying to think work-wise, everything's pretty standard there, so nothing like super overwhelming or anything like that, which is nice. I think I was mentioning that last time we're in a good spot, right? Like going between planning cycles and like performance reviews and stuff like that. Like that's almost like seasonal. When that stuff picks up, it's like um, it it's consuming, right? Like it's just a lot going on. So that's kind of out of the way for now, um, which is nice. And then I'm sure like coming up will actually be like rewards conversations and all that with team members. So that's a little stressful for me as well, right? Because like I do everything I can to make sure that in terms of rewards and compensation, I can put um, how do you phrase it? Like best foot forward for folks on the team, right? Like I can make sure they're represented, but ultimately, like I don't control what comes out of that, right? That I put in as much valid information as I can, and then the responses kind of come back through leadership, HR, finance, and all of that. And ultimately, that's like out of my control. So um, that's always like a challenging conversation. I think Microsoft announced too earlier this year, um, just like changes to like compensation rates and stuff as well. So kind of like tied in with the like how there's a lot of layoffs and stuff in big tech. Obviously super unfortunate. Um, I'm not gonna get into like necessarily sharing my perspective on all that. I don't like the idea, but I think kind of got to look at it like I like shareholders run the company sort of thing. So it's not it's not something in my control. Um, but yeah, I'm always nervous around rewards time and stuff to have those conversations with people just because if I mean I guess one thing that's really important and worth calling out is like if people are surprised by the conversations that we're having, then I kind of feel like I haven't done a good job. So uh I mean, if I'm also surprised about the result that comes back from leadership, finance, and HR, like that's I mean, we're both going to be surprised in that conversation, but otherwise, like if it comes back and it's what I expected, and then the individual surprise, that tells me that I did not do a good job as a manager, like level setting expectations. So anyway, that's probably coming up in a little bit. So for now, not stressed about that. I guess personal life wise, we got our wedding coming up, which is awesome. That's just under, is it 3 weeks exactly now? 3 weeks and one day away. So, fast approaching, which is really cool. So we'll be going back to Canada for that. Um, yeah, like I don't know if I've mentioned, like we live in Washington, so that will be nice to go back home and then be around friends and family and kind of celebrate that all together. So we're definitely excited as the big day approaches. Yeah, it used to seem so far away, but now it's like it's right now. So very cool. What else been going on? Personal life wise, definitely like I guess in relation to the wedding, I had kind of set a goal that I wanted to like not like I'm into bodybuilding, but I generally walk around like probably like even now when I lose weight, like my BMI will say that I'm obese just because of the mass. Not that I'm a huge person or anything, but as soon as you get into bodybuilding kind of seriously, like your body weight is generally going to be higher if you are carrying muscle, right? So it's kind of I don't know, misrepresentative, I would say, like to say like it's obese, but I walk around probably I don't know, like around 185 pounds. I'm 5'4", so I'm pretty short. And I want to just make sure, like for wedding day and stuff, like set a goal that I can feel like look good, feel good, kind of thing. My fiance is very much into CrossFit, so we're both two people into nutrition, and like she has her sport, and I have my bodybuilding. I don't really think it's a sport, but like I have that as my activity, so. We both appreciate that. She does not, if I'm losing weight or gaining weight, she's never like, doesn't change her perspective about me, which is really nice. You could imagine that that would be like a really challenging type of thing if I was really into say into bodybuilding, I had to put a lot of weight on or something, if she was like just no longer interested or something, that would be a really kind of crappy pressure to have to navigate. So fortunately, we don't have that kind of thing going on. I think if anything, it's when I'm losing weight, it's really challenging because going on dates and stuff, like I have to be very restricted with what I'm eating. So that part's challenging, I would say. But uh, but yeah, keeping up with the cardio up to 100 minutes a day on top of my workouts, which is all manageable. But the past couple weeks, definitely like I am really hungry before bed to the point where it's like it's starting to keep me up. I'm still not even, if I had to go get onto a stage, I would have to still lose like another 15 to 20 pounds. Actually, at least 20 pounds. So right now I weigh about 170, like between 168 to 170, and I would need to be like 150 to be on a stage. So I've only come down like 15 to 20 pounds from my sort of off-season weight, so it's pretty pretty staggering how much further I'd have to go. So I'm not doing that for the wedding at least. So that's been kind of what's been going on the side. Um, I think content-wise, what I wanted to talk through, which I'm pretty excited about. I actually I had email come in. I subscribed to vidIQ for some of the analytics and stuff for YouTube and all of that. Kind of help make sure that it's like a good checklist and stuff when I'm posting and give me some insights into to things that are going on. But they had actually they had shared some advertisement about like coaching, and I was like, oh man, like here we go, like just more products and services being pushed. And I was reading through it and I was like, honestly, for the price, I was like, I always see these, a lot of people that are like Alex Hermosi, like talking about like investing in yourself first before like, putting money into the stock market and stuff. And I think for me, I'm very conservative. So like, I'm like, no, like my money should go into the stock market, into real estate. But I definitely value his perspective, right? So this was something I was like, the price doesn't seem bad. And I do want to be able to make sure that the content I'm delivering and stuff I can improve upon over time. So I was like, I should give this a shot. The worst case is like if I'm finding it's not valuable, I stop. So not the end of the world. So I actually that started this week. Um, as I might expect, it's a little slow to get started because you're kind of meeting with your coach and kind of sharing some insights. But um, I think after 1 week of kind of chatting back and forth, which is like one video a day, uh, you know, that I send and that he'll send, I would say definitely like the feedback I've gotten, and like he's not critiquing the channel or anything like that. He's kind of just like chatting through like my goals and ideas for how I can move forward. But I kind of propose a couple of things, right? Like one is, and for folks watching this, if you're like not into like content creation and stuff, like it's a weird world that like I'm not super comfortable in at all. I had a reasonably successful like modified car account on Instagram, just for someone who is doing it as a hobby. But then I mean this is kind of like I was slowing down when TikTok was like coming online and stuff and kind of taking over, and like kind of before Reels, and by that point I'd really given up. But I had like I think it peaked at like 11,000 followers kind of thing, just organically from going to car shows and posting every day, just being consistent. So I kind of have an idea what I'm doing for like other social media platforms, but for videos, like no, not at all. So yeah, it's been like the couple things we were focusing on are like thumbnails. So you like thumbnails are like a science, and am not, I'm not, I think I understand some of the concepts, but applying it in like in a creative way is like not my skill at all. So trying to have a bit more of a hook in the thumbnails. It needs to be things like at a glance people can understand right away. It's got to be intriguing. There's a lot of like little nuances, right? And when your channel's small, it's hard to like experiment and kind of measure like the impact of it. So, but you like I still have analytics, so I can try doing that kind of stuff. But I need to do a better job at being like explaining, like attracting a viewer without giving away everything and making them curious with the thumbnail and the title. So that's tricky. And then the other part is really around like storytelling. So this coach and other like content creation channels I watch for kind of insights and stuff, like they really focus on storytelling. So of course, with the content I'm posting, it's a lot more like tutorial based, informative, when it's programming, and then the general software engineering stuff actually might be a more convenient opportunity for this kind of thing, but kind of leading into a video with some intrigue and sharing a story. Because with storytelling, you can get people relating to the content and then they're kind of bought in to see what's next. I'm a little bit nervous about that for some of the tutorial stuff because I feel like that style of content, people are going to check it out because they want the tutorial on the thing and they're like, they might not care about the story, but I'm going to experiment a little bit. I'm kind of excited to try some things out, especially knowing that I have someone like, having a coach to be able to say, like, give me some guidance, some reassurance, because there's going to be times where I post stuff, and even if it was like an improvement overall, for some reason YouTube might not have fed it to the audience, and then it never did as well or something, right? It might kind of get discovered later. Hard to tell, but it'll be good to have that reassurance. So I'm excited for that. Um, Meal, let's talk about Meal Coach and some of the software development stuff. So, did a little bit of interviewing this week to understand from a coach and a like a bodybuilder at the gym I go to about some insights that he has. Talking about like the platforms, plural, that he uses with his clients, and um, I guess like he was saying that he's really not happy with what he's using, which is cool because that's an opportunity for us. But at the same time, what he's using covers enough like breadth of functionality that like for us to move him away from that would would require us building stuff that like we're just not ready to build. So that's a little bit challenging, but I think, Insight was really good. I do think that we have a sort of like a story for people that are training others, so coaches, and for individuals. So my my sort of I'm going to be meeting with the other engineer a little bit later today, but like personally my plan of attack here is kind of like if we can build out more functionality for individuals, because there's like a check-in process as part of the app, even just for yourself, right? And if we can get that to a point where what you're tracking in your check-in is something that you could just like share with your coach. Like, I need that. Like, I have a coach already for bodybuilding, and I type up a check-in thing every week. But like, I'm also entering my weight and stuff into the app. I don't use the app for meal planning just because my diet is literally so simple right now. It's like eat a chicken breast and have oatmeal in the morning. So like, it's so simple that the meal plan part doesn't make sense for me. As I start to go put weight on, and there's a lot more flexibility in like in what I'm able to eat, just making sure that I'm eating sufficiently as I'm putting weight on, I'll certainly switch over to using the app for that part. But regardless, at the end of the week, having this check-in process, I think if we can get that to a point where like someone like the coach I interviewed, if we can say, hey, look, your clients can use this, and at the end of the week, press a button and like what format do you want it in, right? Like we can export it to that and you have it. I think that might be an interesting way to kind of say like you can still use your platform for your side because his clients are also using a couple of tools. So if we can start to displace those, um, the goal initially is not like how do we just get all these people migrated away? Like I think that's kind of a bold thing to try and chase down. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but we need users. We need users for feedback, right? We can keep guessing at what to build, and I love building stuff, so I will keep building it, but it's not a good use of anyone's time if it's not what people want. So, most important part is getting users right now. And if we can kind of tap into some of the local coaches and say, like, hey, can you get your clients trying this? Of course, like if it starts to align with them, like we can get the coaches on for free for life, that kind of thing. We just want the feedback. So same with the clients, right? If they're going to participate early, I would be happy whatever price we end up charging. Like I don't care. You helped us build it by giving us feedback. Free for life. I don't care. Their feedback is invaluable. So um, just trying to approach that front. Uh, on the technical side of things, I had a pretty big mess up. So uh, I've been trying to migrate a lot of this U.S. food database. I've been talking about this for a couple weeks now. I have it all imported, so we have a copy of it in a format that's consumable instead of like flat files. So I started migrating it to our format, and it got it's like 2 million records, and I was like, was that the math on that? Like 95% of the way through, and it was failing on a record, and I was like, okay, I can do this one manually. It got through all of them up until that point with no actual parsing errors or anything, so I was pretty impressed. I kept waiting for it to break. And anyway, I go investigate it, and I'm like, okay, I found this interesting issue. It's not even related to the US data. It's just like an edge case in some of my other code. So cool, I can fix that. But then I noticed that all of the nutritional information I forgot I have like I have to do some conversions, and I had this conversion factor that I need to multiply by the number for the nutrient for what it represents, and I forgot to do that. So I just had this conversion factor, and that meant that for any given food, that all the nutrients for it, which could be like from 5 to uh, literally we have 480 nutrients tracked. So depending on what's in the US database, right? It could be from 5 to hundreds. It was all the same value. Every single one of them was the same value, and I was 95% of the way through migrating 2 million records. So I had to start all over. But it was I guess like I want to reflect on this like a bit of a post-mortem here, right? Like a retrospective. But I talk a lot about functional tests, and I had some functional tests. I actually couldn't enable them to run in continuous integration. This is another challenge where like I don't have a good solution technically to go handle like gigabytes of data in a testing environment. And so I kind of had them set up to run locally, and then I just had them commented out. But the idea was that I guess like I could run them locally and just check things out, and that worked. That actually helped a ton. But because they were functional tests, I wasn't like when I talk about functional tests versus unit, the functional tests exercise a lot of code, but they don't assert a lot of code. And it was not asserting anything about the nutritional information. So that was super crappy in hindsight, right? So um, I should have at least done validation all the way through manually on one food to kind of prove it all works. So that's really unfortunate. I spent the past 3 days or so kind of going through that, and I uncovered more bugs. So in hindsight, I'm really glad that that happened because there were just other bugs. Like I forgot to track the UPC codes, for example. So as all this food's migrating, we want to be able to have the barcode ID hooked up for all the foods. I just forgot to insert that into the database. Oops. I realized that we have a couple of columns that we do keyword searching on. They're not indexed. So we'd have 2 million foods, and if you wanted to do a keyword search, it wasn't indexed. Completely ridiculous. So I uncovered a bunch of stuff, and then in typical fashion for me, I said, well, lesson for me was that I should have had uh, better tests in place. So I revisited some of the tests that I started that like weren't sort of sustainable, and I made it so that I could download a local copy of the latest data for migrating, so importing and migrating, so I can run both. It will cache it locally, so it doesn't have to waste a lot of time doing it again. I can I can do migrations on subsets of the data now. I have functional tests that try to migrate like so import the data, then migrate a single food, and then I validate that food, the nutrition information, that kind of stuff. Actually, this is another great one. I was using a library called Humanizer. It's really popular to try and make the foods and foods, ingredients, the brand names all title case. The source of data for USDA is a mix of like lowercase, all uppercase. It's everything. It's all over the map. Humanizer, when you ask to convert things to title case, they've changed the behavior over time, but the current behavior at the time I record this is that if it has something that's all capital letters and spaces, it doesn't matter, so it could be multiple words. If every word or the single word is all capital letters, when you ask to convert to title case, it treats every word as an acronym. So it means it will remain in title or in uppercase, which is not what I need in this in this situation, because there's all these records that are just like title case everywhere, and I wanted to read. I keep saying title case. All these records that are uppercase everywhere. There we go. And they need to be title case, or else it's going to feel like people are getting screamed at. So it was just not title casing them. Good thing I caught it. And the last thing, which is something that I caught, was that the the units that they're using. This is from the USDA data source. The units that they're using are not standard. So what I mean by that is they talk about serving sizes for some of the foods, and they're supposed to be in grams or milliliters, which is, call that standard. I don't care if it's like, if it were ounces, whatever, like pick a unit, pick some units for volume and mass. Cool. What's not standard about it though is the symbols. The standard symbol for the unit grams is G, and for milliliters is ml. And they had like 5 variations of these things. So as I'm parsing this stuff, I would go to look up the unit, and it's like, doesn't exist. It doesn't exist because that's not the symbol that represents any unit. So I had to go basically check through all the variations and then try to map them to like actual units to make sense of it, which as a human, it's obvious, right? Like it took me a couple of minutes as a human to go, oh, that's what they meant. But when you're trying to write automation to go move 2 million foods, and one of the other tables has like 14 million records, I'm not doing that by hand. So when you have such disorganized data, you have to, having something robust to be able to parse it and manipulate it and organize it it's a pain. And again, that's why tests come into play, which is great. So I did add a couple of scenarios to cover, and I started importing things, or migrating is the word I need to use in this case. And I've actually noticed, like right before I started recording this, I checked the migration, the brand information's not coming through properly, which is very interesting to me because I have tests for it, and the tests pass locally. So when I migrate a food, the necessary brand information comes with it. When I migrate a food in my like when it's running on the server, the food is all migrated properly, but the brand information is just not coming through. So there's some interesting behavior between running it locally. It's the same binaries, right? It should be. I can't imagine it's not. But what's happening on the server side is that it just has different behavior. So I have to stop the migration that's currently running, um, and then redo it again. So that'll be interesting. But I think that's probably the big thing that I was facing. We're we're meeting today to talk about kind of the implementation of a couple other features. So how we handle whether or not you've eaten certain meals. We're going to do water tracking, and then progress pictures. So I built the whole back end for uploading progress pictures to the cloud. Uh, that seemed pretty cool. I was really excited about that. That came along super fast. So we'll hook that all up to a UI, and then we're gonna schedule some time. So the other engineer works in the front end a lot because he's very capable at everything. I suck at front end stuff, so when we split our time up, it just makes sense for him to focus there while I just tackle all the server stuff. But I was talking to him and I said like, "Hey, look, like you've done a lot of server stuff too, and the fact that I'm working in isolation on the server, like I want to be fully transparent. There's probably, you know, patterns, designs, architecture, pieces that I'm just not considering because I'm working in isolation on it. I'm just I'm just getting shit going and working. Whereas I know he like at work and his own experience will be interacting with way more exposure to this kind of stuff. So I just said like we should take some time and kind of go through the architecture, and that way if there's stuff that's glaring to you, I don't have to like go delete everything, but I can at least like have an idea of how what direction I need to start moving in. So I think we're going to spend some time on that today as well, which I'm really excited about because I'm going to learn. And I think that's it. Um, Maybe the last thing to mention is just like trying to pick up the media presence, social media presence for Meal Coach. So practicing my micro habits. I have posted every day this week for Meal Coach. Not today. I haven't done any of my media posting yet for even my personal account. This is the first media thing that I'm putting together for the day. So it's felt good. You know, it feels good to be able to say I'm gonna try doing it. It's a small thing to do every day, and I'm doing it. So got to keep it up for next week as well. So that I'm happy about that, and I think that's it for now. So um, I will end this video here. I will also mention that I think Patreon has done a free tier where I can have people subscribe. So hopefully I can just start turning these on, and instead of you seeing this video, you know, 20 months from now or something, if you're going through archives, because if I'm able to kind of monetize things, I'm currently unable to do so. Um, yeah, if it's free and you can subscribe, then you can start watching these. So maybe we'll see if that picks up. So thanks for all of your support. I definitely appreciate it. I'm excited to kind of grow with you guys, and we'll see where this goes. So take care for now, and we'll see you next week.